Welcome back to another episode of the Biz Magic Podcast, your place for all things tech in your online business with some solid hits of general biz chat too. My name is Patty Meyer, and I am the CEO and founder of Biz Magic, where my team and I support entrepreneurs who are overwhelmed by the back-end tech of their business. We create, implement, and teach the tweaks that help our clients make a bigger impact with less stress. Today, we are going to talk a little bit about something that most of us tend to either love or not so much love in business, and that is marketing, specifically email marketing. By now, it's pretty standard that businesses duke it out on social media. They fight the algorithms, they're chasing engagement. They're praying that their posts don't get buried in the abyss of all the other business social posts and reels and stories and all of that good stuff. But if you don't yet know, there's a better way to get people's attentions, a way to reach your audience directly without a middleman, without worrying about algorithms. It's just you directly to your people right in their inbox. So that's why in this episode, we're going to talk about why direct to inbox is the new direct to consumer in 2025. And I've got the perfect person to talk all about it. Blaire Brown of Visionary Advantages is here to share why email marketing is the best strategy for cutting through all of the noise that you experience when you're on social media. If you've been relying too much on social media to grow your business, or if your email list is kind of hanging out collecting dust, this is the right episode for you. More than just a premium boutique marketing agency, Visionary Advantages specializes in transforming good ideas into jaw-dropping, head-turning brands that demand attention. They combine innovative strategy with premium design to craft cohesive brand identities that don't just look pretty, they work hard for your business. Whether they're creating standout logos, scroll-stopping social media content, or sleek modern websites, their mission is to turn your vision into an unforgettable reality. Their roots in the fashion industry mean they've got an eye for high-end design and the expertise to bring your brand to life with polish and sophistication. But don't let that fool you. They keep things fun, approachable, and tailored to your needs every step of the way. They're not just marketers, they're collaborators, storytellers, and problem solvers who believe every brand has a unique story to tell. Whether you're launching, rebranding, or leveling up, Visionary Advantages is your partner in building a bold, beautiful, and memorable brand. With that, let's dive in. All right. Hi, Blaire. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to chat today.
Yeah, me too. So I want to, since I already kind of read your bio and everything, I would love to just sort of start with you sort of introducing yourself, a little bit about yourself and your agency, just in your own words.
Sure, absolutely. So I am an entrepreneur through and through. This is my third business. I think once you get started as a business owner, you can't really stop, even if you have little twists and turns along the way. But I own Visionary Advantages, and what we do is because I'm obsessed with entrepreneurship, we are obsessed with entrepreneurs and helping their businesses thrive. So we operate as a one-stop shop marketing and branding agency. So if you don't have an in-house marketing team, we can swoop in with our superhero capes and save the day with wherever you need your help the most, whether that's logo design, full website, ongoing social media, and of course, email marketing. So that's us in a nutshell.
Yeah, I love that. And tell me a little bit about how you got started doing this. How did your business come about, and how did you get into marketing?
Sure. So, like I said, I've always really been an entrepreneur. I started my first business 100 years ago whenever I was 16. Went to my parents and I was like, hey, well, first I started making handbags for myself because everybody at school was carrying Louis Vuitton, Dooney and Burke, at the
Yeah.
time. All these brands that I was like, I can't afford that. I'm 16, right? So I wanted to make my own. Made them. People really started complimenting them. Strangers at Starbucks, because where else do you go at that age? Teachers, friends. And I went to my parents. I said, I think this could be a thing. Can I borrow 300 bucks go to Joann's fabric store and start a purse business. And they're like, yeah. So I did that and it really took off. And I ended up running that company for 8 years. And
What?
so,
That's
yeah,
amazing.
thank you. I loved it. And I thought, you know what, for the rest of my life, I'm going to be having a brick and mortar handbag shop, and that's going to be it. So, you know, that did not happen. I after the 8 year mark, I was like, well, I really didn't know how to scale it at that time with manufacturing, and I'm not like a multi-millionaire over here. So I pivoted. I went into the corporate world because that's what they tell you should want to do. I worked in marketing, branding, PR, and fashion journalism for a bunch of big fashion brands in New York City. And I loved it, but something was off the whole
Mhm.
time. I was like, why is this picture perfect job on paper not doing it for me? And I didn't know what it was. I loved the fashion industry and I loved the work I was doing, but something was just off.
Yeah.
And so I started another company whenever I was there. So I was juggling corporate with it, an Amazon business, and I sold unicorn party supplies. And after 2 years, I realized, you know what? If I have this much joy selling unicorn party supplies, I'm not weirdly into unicorns. It's just having my own business. And
Yeah.
so, really, that's when I dove full on into marketing. And that's because I had the skill set marketing my first business. I had to market the second one, and I have my corporate background in it. And I just really love the creativity it brings to the table, being able to have that eye to, even though now I don't only exclusively work with fashion brands, but I have the eye for editing, for marketing and branding that you need to have for this industry.
Yeah.
Um, so after meeting several different founders and business leaders that were crushing it in what they're doing, but they're missing the mark in marketing and branding. They just don't have that support. And then they'd get really stressed because they're like, well, I know I need to do all this marketing. I need a rebrand. I've DIY'd it up to this point, and we all have to do that.
Yeah.
Uh, but now I look at what my website represents of me or my
Right.
logo or whatever they've DIY'd, and they go, and it's embarrassing. That's
Right.
not what we're doing.
Yeah, totally.
So
Yeah.
they're losing trust with clients, and then where the overwhelm comes is they don't have the in-house team, and then they say, but I'm told I need a web agency, I need an SEO agency,
Yeah.
I need a social media agency. How can I possibly afford all those different agencies if we're just trying to get like one of these things done at the time? Like we need all the things.
Right, right. Yeah.
So I realized that like when I was in this transitional period and I was like, why isn't there a place that they can go to and they can get these custom solutions really like where
Yeah.
they can get a full rebrand, they can get a website, and they can get the SEO incorporated in it, and we can
Hmm.
pair things strategically so that way they're getting more bang for their buck as far as like SEO and social media. Why don't we combine the two? So that's really what I had the light bulb moment, was just, okay, they really don't have this resource. How can we help? And so I have a team of specialists that can help them in each area. And it's not like one person who has to be a specialist in each
Mm.
area, because that would be, a
Right.
prodigy. That's
Bonkers.
not
Yeah.
realistic. It's
Right.
not like, so I have the experts in each area. So in a nutshell, we basically able to solve that problem and be there to champion and cheer on all the entrepreneurs that are in that position.
Yeah. Yeah. And so today, what we're really focusing on within that is looking at, for marketing specifically, focusing on direct to inbox marketing, which
Mhm.
is email marketing. So, it's not a phrase that a lot of people have heard, direct to inbox. That's not, or well, everybody's different, right? Where they're at. So I would love for you to kind of break down what that actually means and why you are championing for that method of marketing as sort of the go-to over social media and other forms.
Sure, that's a great question. So I think oftentimes when business owners are looking at their marketing strategy as a whole, they immediately just think, okay, social media, because it's flashy, it sounds sexy, right? It's in front of everybody.
Yeah.
And it is important. I am not knocking at all. Social media is something that we offer too. and I find it very important. But I think what's overlooked is the direct to inbox kind of positioning is, you have this email list of your current list of clients or people that are interested in what you're doing,
Hmm.
or maybe you don't have an email list. Get one, please.
Yes,
There's
yes,
one takeaway.
immediately.
Please just get started. Like, even if
Yeah,
it's 5 people on that list, getting started is going to pay off a lot in the long run.
yeah,
So, the reason why it's so important is because it's your direct path to being in front of your client's eyes. With social media, you're going to be dealing with algorithms every single day.
right,
We can't predict what Instagram is going to put in front of your followers.
right,
You
right.
might put your post in front of them that day that you posted. It could be 2 weeks. You don't know how
Hmm.
often they're scrolling through their feed. And again, you're just really at the
Yeah,
mercy of the algorithm.
yeah.
And
And it changes all the time. The algorithm changes all the time.
I
Yeah.
mean, if you follow people that only talk about social media strategies, it's like, I mean, which one do you follow? Because
Right,
I don't know what Mark Zuckerberg's planning on tomorrow. Like, I didn't
right.
have lunch with him today. Like, I don't know.
Even if
So,
you did, it would probably be different tomorrow anyway.
right, right. So there's always something, there's a
Yeah.
lot of tinkering. And so I feel like, if you are planning your social media strategy, at least focus on being authentic to you and your brand at that, whatever you're posting, and
Mhm.
don't be stressing about the algorithm because frankly, you can't predict it.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but with the email list, you can predict that it's going to end up in their inbox because you have their email address. They opted in to be on your list because they had to click subscribe and submit their information
Hmm.
at some point. Even if it was to get a coupon code or something, they
Right.
still have to fill something out. So that direct access is really critical, and it's like almost a cheat code for
Right.
getting in front of people.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a warmer audience because they've actively made a choice. It's easier to just click follow, you click something while your video shows up in your feed and you click, "Oh, that's interesting," and I'll follow them. And then you kind of forget about them, right? And
Yeah.
then if they show up again, they show up again. But when we're talking about email, you know that they've had to take several steps to actually say, I am interested in this person or this content, or I want this thing from them, and I'm opting into this. And they may opt out, which is another important thing of
Yeah.
being okay with losing people because they're not
Right.
your people.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you're sending an email, it gets to them. It's a guarantee. They may not open it, which is a different part of
Right.
the game, but
Yeah.
they at least see your name, and that makes a difference as well. And so that really, really helps.
That's a really good point. Like the brand awareness, even if they
Hmm.
don't click it open or they have do it with one eye open whenever they wake up in the morning, it's still in their brain and they might even
Yeah.
save it for later.
Hmm.
And you do have to be mentally prepared for them to opt out and just know, hey, they opted out, that's fine.
Yeah.
That means your email list is stronger because it's people who do want to hear from you. So really there's
Hmm.
no harm in that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And it improves your numbers and it costs you less money. When people
Exactly.
leave that aren't ever going to buy from you, I mean, that's the reality. Is I had a coach once when I would be really uncomfortable with selling to my email list. I'm like, I did all the things I was supposed to do and I had an email list, but I'd be like, oh, but I'm just conversational and I don't want to sell. And she's like, they're literally on your list because you're going to sell to them. Like, that's what they're there for. And if they're not there, then go be friends with them somewhere else. But like, it's okay for your list to be focused on selling because that is literally what it's there for. So you don't want people on it who aren't going to ever buy from you. You can still be authentic without that happening.
Yeah, and you can be conversational about selling
Yep.
something. I mean, to your point, they want to hear from you and hear what's new. So if you have an
Yeah.
exciting new service that you want to share with them, like let them know. They'll be like, "Oh, I didn't know that you offered this too. Like I was looking into it with this other person the other day." And then you happen to send the email and it's like, the tables turned a little bit. So it's
Yeah.
a good opportunity.
Yeah. So let's talk about email marketing strategy a little bit. What do you find tends to be a strong email strategy for business owners? I know that they differ based on the business and their goals and how they're showing up and what they're offering. But I would love to hear any advice that you have for people on having a strong email marketing strategy.
Yeah, so I think honestly, if you are t thinking about email strategies, which you should if you're listening today, I would just start from the basics. Like, don't overwhelm yourself. But if you get started with just one really nice email funnel, you're going to be really inspired to kind of build on it. I think a welcome sequence is really a great starting point because if you don't know what a welcome sequence is it's essentially somebody subscribes to your, like on your website email form or whatever way that you're able to get them in. They subscribed. Boom. We want to have hey, we're so happy that you're on our list. Maybe not say on our list. Word it better. We're off the cuff here. But like, hey, welcome. Like, welcome to the Visionary Advantages party.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
super excited to have you here. And then what I would do is map out this is what to expect from our emails. And it doesn't have to be long at all. Don't
Hmm.
overthink it. I tend to
Yeah,
do that sometimes.
yeah,
Don't
yeah, yeah,
just get to the point like, hey, we're going to be talking about this. Really can't wait to share more with you soon. And you can even say like, I send out emails once a month
yeah,
or every Tuesday. Like you can be very transparent about that, and that's not going to hurt anybody.
yeah,
So then you have just a second email as a follow-up. Just kind of diving in a little bit more. Maybe you tell them about your brand. Maybe you have like a freebie that you're giving them, some sort of lead magnet that maybe that's how you got their email to begin. But just something, casual, again, laying the foundation of what you're about as a brand. And that kind of gives them more of that awareness and understanding of who you are. And also just, connects them with what you are trying to do.
yeah,
Um, but you can make it as comfortable as you want. Like you said, some people get scared of being salesy. Don't be salesy then.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
be yourself or what your brand voice is, and then just deliver that message. I would say a strong welcome series is about 5 emails
yeah,
over time. You're not going to
yeah.
do it five
I
days in a
agree.
row. Space
Hmm.
it out, call it a day. And then the beauty of that is write it so that it's evergreen, meaning it doesn't have like a seasonal or a year on it.
Right.
And then it can just be automated and it can run on its own and it does the job.
Yeah,
Because if you get this set up, people know what to expect. And then later you can start doing other email funnels and campaigns that are like, that'll just save you time. Like
yeah.
you want to get testimonials from clients who love you, create a testimonial campaign that just has follow-up emails to see if they would mind writing a couple lines about how awesome you are. You
Yeah,
know, all these
absolutely.
things will save you time and it'll make your business stronger.
Yeah. Yeah. Having the opt-in welcome sequences are really, really great because it allows you to nurture, which is another name that it's called, right? A nurture sequence. It allows you to really support and nurture somebody new to your audience by having created something that welcomes them, walks them through what it's like to work with you and be a part of your world and that sort of thing. In a funnel, for anybody who's listening that's not familiar with that, is essentially taking somebody in from a lead and kind of making them into, well, funneling them into where it makes sense for them to be within your world and offering them something eventually, if that makes sense. And I agree with you. Sometimes you can, with an opt-in sequence, end up taking somebody to a point where you're offering them some sort of one-on-one work or a program or something. And sometimes it's literally just saying, hey, I'm happy you're here. And then you're sharing a little bit more about you. And then you're saying, I love getting feedback from people. So I love in
Yeah.
those sorts of sequences to say, hey, hit reply and let me know, about this particular thing in your business or what you're struggling with or what your favorite thing is about or whatever, just to invite that conversation so that as that nurturing is happening, you're opening the door for them to have a conversation with you as well. So it can become personalized within that, even though it's automated, which I think is a really
Yeah.
good thing.
And one thing you just brought up about like, maybe you offer like a one-on-one call or something. Um, that reminded me, you could even do something as simple as like, hey, like, did you know that I have a podcast?
Hmm.
And you can invite them to, I bet that you'd really like this episode. We talked about email marketing, or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you can link it and it's a free resource that's helpful for your audience. Maybe they signed up for something around the topic of emails.
Yeah.
Um, or, maybe you have a big presence on Instagram. Little invitations to places that also provide value and is something they're interested in can also be like a nice way to soften the introduction and make it feel more comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love something before we hit record that we talked about briefly, or that you said, was sort of making the point that, when it comes to your email list, you own your email list. But when
Mhm.
it comes to social media, you don't own your followers. And so you sort of referenced what happened recently with TikTok, where all of a sudden they were going to disappear, and they did for like 5 hours or whatever it ended up being.
Yeah,
And then they came
so
back. But
dramatic.
in that moment, if that was the only place where you had built your sales funnels and your followings and your engagement, it was gone. And
Yeah.
so that's a big difference when you're looking at social media, especially with it becoming so bizarre and it changes so much and all these things. And Instagram just changed there, which I'm outraged about, but they just changed on the grid the size of the images. So if you've made a grid for
Oh yeah.
years, it's destroyed. It's like they
Uh,
changed the shape of it's no longer squares. And like, so there's all these unpredictable things that happen within that. But you do have a sense of control and ownership over that email list and over the way that you're having a conversation with people, the way that you're bringing them into your world.
Yeah, 100%. And think about, I mean, back to TikTok, it's so scary to think like if you put all of your eggs in that TikTok basket
Yeah.
and it wipes out and that was your sole income, like
Yeah.
that's scary. I mean,
Yeah.
Instagram, to your point of them changing the shapes too, they have blackouts
Hmm.
sometimes. And then it's
Yeah.
just like, a social media and business owner chaos.
Hmm.
Your email is still there. It's
Yeah.
over there, hanging out, sipping on a cocktail. And it's like you can still send stuff here, but people forget because it's, not as in your face
Yeah.
as social media is to the public versus email can be tailored to be more personalized.
Yeah. So when you're looking at emailing your list, what should you be thinking about and looking at when it comes to getting people to open their emails and or engage with them? Do you have any advice on writing really solid subject lines? Because that's really challenging for a lot of people, and knowing exactly what kind of content they're putting in there.
Yeah, that is a challenge. I mean, it all depends. I mean, I work with all kinds of brands. So we really focus first and foremost on their goals, like what are they trying to get from this email? What are they selling or sharing? Um, what are we trying to do here? So I would play around with like a couple different subject lines. If you're doing like I'm trying to think like a broadcast campaign where it's something that's not exactly evergreen, but let's say you're just going to blast an update to your list that's
Hmm.
current.
Yeah.
So capture their attention. What we'd like to do is we do sets of three and we'll test them out. So what we'll do
Mm.
is the first one we'll blast out. We'll see how it does. And then we have tech behind that's connected to see if somebody clicked on it or not. If they do, cool. We note that they clicked, they took action, we kind of follow the stats,
Right.
and then are immediately shut off from the rest of the campaign. So they're not going to get emails two or three. So then if we go into the they don't click on the first email, they click on the second one, we shut it off, they don't get the third, and so on. Or maybe it goes all the way to the third one, they finally click on it, or they don't. We look
Right.
at the data at that point, and then we kind of see, okay, what is this audience really clicking on? What are they interested in? What are they not?
Yeah.
And you're
Yeah.
gonna be able, it's, the first month you're not gonna hit you might hit a home run, but at least it's the start of learning. And then you can
Mm.
start strengthening your list as far as, okay, you might get some unsubscribes, brace yourself.
Right. Right.
You're gonna see emails bounced. Cool. Clean up, tighten it up. And then last, let's look at this data. Let's see what people are, if it's more conversational subject lines with the preview text, right? If it is more like we're selling business cards, like kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
Or is it planning in advance for your business strategies if it's B2B? Just again, just looking at that language, what are people really connecting to? And what's cool is whenever you're doing email campaigns like this, is you can do a horizontal marketing campaign where you connect it, not just emails, but you're also blasting um, similar content themes around social media.
Hmm.
And then you can also grab that and then create a blog post around it. So if
Okay.
you tie those things in, it
Mhm.
really becomes effective for brands. Like you're going to find somebody somewhere and then you're going to see, okay, which
Oh
ones
yeah.
are they responding to the most?
Yeah,
Did that answer your
absolutely.
question? I
Yeah.
think it did.
Yeah, definitely,
Okay.
definitely. So you're saying, yeah, play with different
Play
ideas and
around.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. I find that my audience is very conversational. They tend to connect more with me because because I am, right? Because I mean
Me
that's
too.
I think the important part of in social media in general, marketing in general, but when you're talking to your email list is sort of going back to what we were saying is like yes, you can sell in your emails, but you can also at the same time still be yourself and still be authentic because that is your way of selling the successfully to your audience because they're going to resonate mostly with you and who you are. And
Mhm.
so being able to show up in that way in email is really important. So creating interesting, I mean, with subject lines, obviously, like I've always heard, you want to have something that makes people like get their attention, and
Mhm.
but you want it to be relatable. You want it to be something that they want to read and dive into and that piques their interest in some capacity.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
just ask yourself, why did they sign on to begin with? What attracted them in the first place?
Yeah.
Just really build on that. And then, marketing is a lot of experimenting. That's why we call ourselves a brand lab, right?
Yeah.
Like you're playing around with different ideas, you're analyzing it together. And then, but again, you bring up a good point. You want to be authentic to who you are, though, with how
Yeah.
you bring it. People love authenticity. I mean, keep track of brand words, start creating patterns like that, and that will really build out your brand as a whole too, even
Yeah.
outside of emails.
Yeah, I love that. And so when we're looking at our email marketing, what do you recommend people look at when they're determining success in their email? And again, a lot of it has to do with goals, but are there certain metrics that you suggest people look at in order to deem whether or not something is moving in a direction that they want it to move in?
I think like I don't have an exact step for you, but I would say look at the what links are they clicking within that email? Are they clicking on the checkout link that you have in there? Are
Hmm.
they clicking on your website? Are they creeping on your social media handles that you might have at the very bottom? Just take a look at that and see what they're actually interested in, and that'll give you a better picture of what they want.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's great. And I think also open rates are really
Oh
helpful to
yeah.
look at because it's good to see what emails are being opened. And I tend to track everything. So I do once a month, I'll write down the subject lines for each of my emails. I'll write down the open rates, click rates, unsub rates, all of that because that's helpful for me to get an overview of all of my emails and like okay what was working with people, what wasn't working. So it's sort of like you're talking about earlier about like testing different things but being able to look at them, right, and find some place to look at some of those metrics side by side. So essentially open rates, click rates, things like that are really helpful to
Exactly.
kind of be tracking. And then like you said, paying attention to words a little bit, it sounded like, inside that you're using and whether or not people are resonating with those. Is that kind
Mhm.
of what?
Yeah, exactly. Because, like, are you more of a robotic, like very corporate brand, or are you more enthusiastic and, building them up? Like, what is it more of a friend kind of email? It just
Yeah.
depends on what your brand is, everybody,
Yeah.
different strokes for different folks, right?
Yeah. So what about um businesses that have email lists that maybe they haven't been the greatest at maintaining, and so they've gone a little stale, they're a little disengaged. Do you have any advice on how you go about re-engaging your audience when they've gone a little stale or they haven't heard from you in a while?
Yeah, roll up your sleeves and get back into the game. Like brace yourself for some unsubscribes because you haven't talked to them in a while.
Mhm.
So you're going to get a lot of bounces because people just, they abandon their emails, they change jobs if it's like a B2B type of outreach. There's all these different scenarios, right? So just brace yourself mentally for that, but also think, okay, if you were a friend that hasn't reached out in a while, how would you want your friend to reach out to you?
Mhm.
It's just kind of like a, hey, how have you been? Like, we've been so busy working on this, and then ex insert something exciting and kind of fun about like what you got, what are you excited about with your business, right? Like
Yeah.
that's a way to think about it. Like what if you're sending out a Christmas card to people you haven't talked to in years, but you're giving them the updates. Give them a little update.
Yeah.
I think things like that are nice, and it's, not directly sales worthy necessarily, but
Mhm.
it's just like a
Yeah.
nice shake up of this is what's going on. And then I would create just a campaign around that. So not just one email. I would do a couple follow-ups to almost like the welcome campaign,
Mm.
but
Yeah.
strategically around like reintroducing what you're doing. Hey, we're doing these really cool things. Here's how you can get involved, And again, this could be something like we're doing really cool things on Instagram right now. You should check it out right here.
Yeah.
Or I interviewed this awesome person on my podcast the other day, and I thought maybe you would like it. So, and then you can link that. Just really breaking the ice and getting back into their world. So that way they start remembering, oh, yeah, she does this. I've been looking to do that for my business recently, and then they might tune in. But just it opens that door of like, they're going to welcome your emails again.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
what I,
Yeah, and I would say also don't be afraid to own the fact that you went MIA, and
yeah,
like, yeah,
yeah,
like you don't have to try to dance around it and just be like,
no,
cool, I'm just gonna start sending emails. You're like, oops, I got busy in my world and all these
life
stats were
happens.
like, yeah, these cool things were happening. This is what's happening, but I'm back and here's what you can expect moving forward. It's like it's okay
Yeah,
to own that fact that we're human and that depends on your business too, right? When we look at that authenticity, but yeah, that's what I've done when I've dropped them too, is I come back and I'm like, whoops, like remember when I
yeah,
just was like, I'm gonna
same.
email you all this stuff and then I didn't anymore.
I
Life,
mean, life,
like,
nothing's more relatable than life happens, right? Like
yeah, than being
everybody
human.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that helps.
Totally. Totally. All right. So, because I love tech, I would love to hear if you have a favorite email marketing platform that you tend to navigate towards. Or yeah, if you what are your or you could do a couple if you have a couple, but
Ooh.
yeah, I would love to hear what your favorite ones are.
Yeah, honestly, we love branding over here. So I really like Flowdesk. It gives you a lot of branding options, and the aesthetic is really nice. And it doesn't matter if you're selling a physical product or service. It's just the templates are easy to use. They have workflow functions, easy to segment your audience out. So if there's some people that are on your media list versus your current customers, you can tailor it super easy. And I do like it for those reasons.
I love it. As soon as you said we love branding here, I knew you were gonna say Flow Desk.
Yeah, it's just so pretty. There's no denying it. And my background's in the fashion industry. If you pull up their
Hmm.
website, and for anybody listening, it's FLO desk.
Yes.
It's spelled. If you go to their website, it's really aesthetically pleasing, really
Yeah.
beautiful. So if
It
you
is.
want to customize it for your brand colors and put your logo on it, boom, very
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah, I love it. This has been super fun. Thank you so much.
So much fun. Are you
Yeah,
kidding? Thank you for
yeah,
having me.
of course. If anybody wants to work with you, learn more about you, any of that, I'll put that in the show notes, but I would love for you to go ahead and tell us how to find you.
Awesome. Yeah, well, of course you can email me, but since it's on the topic. But if you just go to visionaryadvantages.com, you'll find everything there, all my social media handles, email list, and then I have a lot of freebies on there too for entrepreneurs. So if you want to go download some free helpful resources, check it out.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Biz Magic Podcast. Like most small businesses and podcasts, we rely heavily on word of mouth. So if you like what you heard today or in any episode, please share with your friends and colleagues and rate, subscribe, and comment on your favorite podcast platform. Till next time, cheers to your magical biz success.